We are now live.
Cool. So yeah, this is the Node Modules Group Online Summit. Since it's a summit, it'll be both organized and a little bit informal. I'm hoping everybody gets here on time. When I know some people have to leave early and some people have to join later, but we'll do our best. We do have a schedule, which I should actually share a screen of. Yeah. Screen. Is this right? I'm guessing people can see that. But for the first, I guess 45 minutes now, we're just going to kind of talk about the stakeholders, which are us and anybody who's missing, and kind of, I wanted to open up, get people more flowing into discussion so that we're able to interact throughout the day. So for the stakeholders, I'm just kind of wanting to go around through all the participants and kind of express why you're here, what you want to see happen in the future. And if you have any other stakeholders who you are not representing or are missing today, I want to just be sure that we talk about them and what we think that they are desiring, so that we can get a better grasp before we move on to all the topics that we're going to get to the rest of the day. So this will give us a little bit of perspective for all the topics that we're going to get into, and just give us some different angles to view those topics from. I can start just to give example, and then we can kind of move down the list and either raise your hand if you want to go, or I'll end up calling out people. So I'm Bradley Farias. I work at GoDaddy. I've been wandering around this ES module landscape for, I guess, 4-ish years, trying to get stuff organized. My main thing that I really want to see is having modules work, that they work in multiple environments the same way. And I really want any integration we have to be very well defined and not something subject to guesswork, so that we can kind of work with it and analyze it both as humans and as tools. So I want teachability. I want the ability to pick up other people's code and kind of see how that code works without going into great depth, without needing to learn a lot of different topics just to understand what's going on, without needing to learn how the application structure works, and having clear separations of this system, I feel, is the most important thing to me. After spending some time with it in the early days of me looking at ES modules, I was much more a wing it approach to things. And I think having spent so much time, I've changed to a much more conservative approach to how we should approach things. So yeah, is there anybody else who wants to go next? Well, I'm going down the list then.
I can go.
Miles, how about you go?
That works out. So I'm Miles Borns. I'm a developer advocate at Google, focused on Google Cloud Platform and specifically node.js. Been with the project for about 2 years. The majority of my work has been focused on testing stability and releases. In the last year, I helped to coordinate what's known as the strategic initiatives. Brad, I don't know if that's something that you could throw up on your screen, but it's just github.com/node.js/tsc. And there's a link in there. But the strategic initiatives is a process that we have to track high-level and important issues within the Node.js ecosystem that need stakeholders and champions to make sure that they're followed through. The stakeholders, lingua franca was borrowed from TC39, and the role is, kind of a mix of project and product management for specific features and initiatives within the project. I stepped up as the champion for the modules initiative and have been, heavily involved in the conversation. I helped spin up this team that's organizing the call right now. I've been representing Node at TC39 for some of the conversations related to modules and tangential things as well. And, been involved from a high level capacity over some of the stuff going on in core. Others such as, Brad or Gus or Guy or Jan and a number of others have been much more active on the code front with this stuff. But, I like to think that the code's not the only thing that's important for moving these things forward. So I think that's enough about me for right now, and I'll kind of pass it on to whoever is next in line to introduce themselves.
So next in line would be Jeremiah.
Sure. Hey, I'm Jeremiah Sankpeel, aka Fishhawk123. I work for NoteSource. Provide some of my time to work on Node.js core. I'm a member of the TSC and this group and other groups. I've been around ES modules since near the beginning of when it was being discussed in Node. I don't exactly know when that was. So a lot of the things that I'm interested in are how we can work with the ES modules with the existing implementations of the existing ecosystem, and also how we can work with the existing ecosystem with the future implementations of ES modules, and related things such as WASM. So I care a lot about interop and making sure that things are approachable. Any behavior that we introduce is not confusing as much as possible. Things are easy to use and easy to read when people approach new code, and that things are clear. We don't break all of Node modules. What else? I was around a lot of the earlier discussions about how we might do this in core, various different detection methods. Back when we discussed that without having any real frame of reference like we now do. I think when I started, the spec was, I think the spec was finalized when I came to ES modules, but I'm not sure. And also, I was part of lots of the early discussions for how loading ES modules synchronously or asynchronously in Node might work. I'm still kind of interested in that today, if it is reasonably possible. I think that's everything, or enough.
Cool. So next down the list is Gil. Maybe.
Yes. No, I'm here. I've been lurking and observing the progress of ES mod. I'm a user, no capacity in Node. I've been lurking and observing ES modules in Node and the browser for the past 4 years, something like that. Writing some articles here and there, doing some presentations, which is where I met Miles. And he invited me to join this. And I said, yeah, why not? And it's been fascinating. Hopefully I can contribute as a user. My main interest is browser and Node interoperability, where you can use the same code, the same ES module code, both in the browser and in Node. That's it. Thank you.
Nice. Also, Gil has written several write-ups about things, which are good. Gus,
Thank
you're
you.
next on the list.
Hello, everyone. I am a student who's just kind of been interested in the whole modular ecosystem. Primarily, I've been looking at implementations and stuff, but being on this team, mostly I've been interested in interoperability and I just kind of in the future, I just want to kind of see the node and browser agreeing on more things. Yeah, I think my other main priority is keeping track of, the new user experience for Node and people who've never used Node before. Whatever we're doing here, it's probably going to change what that looks like, considering, the last 10 years of the internet have been the old system. So, just making sure as we move into the future, everyone knows what's going on. Yeah.
Okay, so next up is Guy.
Hi, yeah, I'm Guy Bedford. I've been working with module loaders since about, there was, an initial phase when sort of the ECMAScript Harmony spec was coming together, where they kind of had this sort of sketch of a loader. I've actually got an old page here on Web Archive. I don't know if you want me to add it to that TC39 and modules document, Bradley. Do you think it would be worthwhile?
That's Miles.
Miles.
Please add anything that you think would be relevant, and during the discussion, we can, decide to move through things as makes sense.
Sure. I've shared the document in the chat. I'll add it to the doc now. But this was kind of like a super early concept of loaders in how it would integrate into the ES spec. And yeah, back when that was a thing, and that was kind of the idea that we had of a loader, started playing around with polyfilling that in the browser and actually running these use cases of working with the loader. So there's a project, ES Module Loader, started by Adi Osmani back in the day, with Luke Hoban, who's now core on the TypeScript team. He was one of the people who started TypeScript. And he had a kind of a sketch of this loader and sort of picked up from that, built this out further, and then built on top of it System.js, which was kind of experimenting with the original loader hooks that they'd specified in the Strawman spec. And followed that path, since 2013. And built it out into a build tool and a dynamic module loader. And it's getting about, it's a popular NPM project today, but things have moved on and changed quite a bit since then. But mainly just trying to bring the lessons from that to these discussions. And with the same goal, I think, that we all have, trying to get the best implementation we can. That's probably all I want to say.
Cool. So next up is Ben Newman.
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're a little soft, but we can hear you.
Okay, I'll get closer to the microphone. I'm the lead maintainer of the Meteor.js framework, and we ship a hybrid CommonJS ECMAScript module system that's based on an implementation of a userland implementation of ECMAScript modules called Reify that was forked and turned into the ESM module loader that John David Dalton is working on. So I guess my perspective here is that we've seen people using Meteor successfully manage a hybrid module system while also sort of moving off of CommonJS as it makes sense towards ECMAScript module syntax. And I bring that background to discussions of MJS versus JS and the extent to which we can live with those two systems interoperating seamlessly. I guess the TLDR is that I believe that is possible. So that's that's my bias.
Cool. So next on the list is Hassan. Hassan, I think you're muted still.
Okay, sorry, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Well, good day. I'm Hassan Sani, a student and a very an interesting member on Node.js Foundation. I've been developing Node.js for quite some time, and web developer in Nigeria. I take interest in ES modules. I take interest in ES modules mostly on how I can implement it on giving my friends and my co-workers here on how to develop more on with Node.js tools and what we have so far. Sorry, I was cut off that, but I'm catching up. Hello?
Yep.
Hello,
Okay.
am I still? Oh, all right. All right.
We're good.
Uh,
Are you still talking? Sorry, I interrupted.
I think I'm breaking up.
Okay, well, we're gonna move on.
No.
Oh, no?
Okay, my network. Yes. Okay.
Oh, just a note to people, try to keep your video off for bandwidth reasons. Okay.
I just went through and stopped the videos that were still running. Apologies to those that were sharing video.
Yeah. So let's move on for now and we can see if there's anything else to get to. Next up is Jan. John?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Jan. I work at Groupon, do a lot of developer education and help and support for people working with Node.js at Groupon. So that's also where partially my interest in the module discussion comes from, because we get a lot of questions about the different ways to using modules and the things that break, sometimes surprisingly, because there's a lot of complexity, especially with supporting the older systems and with what works, what doesn't work, what works differently. So I think I'm echoing what Bradley said in the beginning, that I'm very interested in making sure that whatever we come up with is easy to use and that it's not surprising and that it's easy to teach, not only to people who already know CommonJS, but also to people coming to Node from other operating system, other programming environments, or even are beginners. That's me.
Cool. So next up is John David Dalton.
Hi, I'm JDD, or John David Dalton. I work at Microsoft. I'm a dev experience PM on the web platform team. I'm also heavily involved in the JavaScript ecosystem and the Node ecosystem through packages like Lodash. I've been around the ecosystem for a number of years now. And my focus in this group is to try to make sure the ecosystem is represented and the experience that the ecosystem is used to is represented. I know that there's some folks that want to do like a greenfield approach, and I guess I'm on the opposite end of that. I want compatibility, interoperability. I'm really interested in the ergonomics and the the way people can opt in and actually use and start coding fast in ESM. So that's me.
Cool. So next up is Justin Fagnani.
Yeah, hi there. I'm Justin Fagnani. I work at Google on the Polymer team, and I'm the TL of the tools team over there. Formerly, I used to be on the Dart team, but don't hold that against me too bad. Let's see, I'm here kind of under invitation to represent kind of the web point of view. So we work on web tooling, and we've been making modules work recently, and so we would really like to have seamless interop between modules on the web and modules on Node, especially considering npm's kind of prominence as a package manager for the front end. Yeah, personally, I would like to see this shift to modules happen as fast as possible and leave behind the old kind of userland implementations of modules. On Polymer tools, we've recently added module support all throughout our tools. So this includes everything from static analysis to building modules, bundling, on-the-fly transpilation for our dev server and test runner. We've been working on import meta support, dynamic import support, and all that. One interesting thing about our project is that we don't support CommonJS or AMD or any other module format as input right now, and we probably won't. And that we've been in the process of publishing modules to NPM for a little while here, and we're publishing only pure JavaScript standard modules to NPM. We're not publishing any other format. And as far as I know, I think we might be one of the first projects to do that. So we've had to create the tooling to make that all work seamlessly. And also I've been involved in some standards discussions recently. So the most relevant one here is the package name map proposal that Miles and Dominic and a few others from Chrome and I have worked on. This is to bring bare module specifier support to the web in a way that's actually scalable and performant. And we're also working on the HTML modules proposal. So this is a replacement for HTML imports that lets you import an HTML file, mainly to get access to certain pre-declared DOM elements in there, like templates and whatnot for use with web components. Yeah, so that's my story.
Nice. Let's see. Next up is Matt Deleon.
Hi, I'm a senior software engineer at a startup called Slice in New York. My primary interest is to not break modules as we build this out, but also to learn and contribute wherever I can, and just make the module implementation as solid as it can be.
Cool. Matteo wanted us to delay. Next up is Michael Zasso. Sorry if I pronounced names wrong.
Hello, I'm Michael Zasso. I'm a member of the Node.js TSC. And my main interest here is to make the transition to ES modules as easy as possible for users, including users that currently use CommonJS ecosystem, but also libraries. There are a lot of libraries already now on NPM that are authored using ES modules, syntax, and that are converted with Babel or Rollup. And I think that it's important that they can switch to the real ES module implementation without much work. And that's it.
Okay, next up is Rafael Ackerman.
Hi, I hope I'm not too soft on the mic. I'm a Node.js core collaborator for the last year or so. I've been around the ecosystem for also many, many years. I have a twofold interest. One is I've developed a kind of fetish to old code and compatibility, and I'm really interested in seeing how it evolves. I believe that CGS will evolve a little bit more. And the other thing I got really interested in is the community interaction around this topic, which I'm sure you've all noticed has been heated and very passionate, and went up and down. And I'm interested in observing that, maybe learning a little bit. That's it.
Okay. Looks like Wes Wiggum is up.
Hi there. I am a developer on the TypeScript team at Microsoft. And I've been in some way partially responsible for how we emit and type check ES modules for probably a little bit more than 2 years. And that extends to the static analysis of ES modules in VS Code and Visual Studio, not even in TypeScript, but in JavaScript. And my interest lies in, one, making sure that people who have existing modules can continue to receive the same support that they have over the past 2.5 years, but also such that when Node advances what it does so in a way that it can coexist at the same time in an environment where browser dedicated modules exist and these legacy modules that people are transpiling exist and all sorts of other good things. Yeah.
Okay. It looks like Matteo is back. Matteo, you want to go?
Hey, I am Matteo Collina, principal architect at Nearform. I am mainly involved in this group as part of the TSC and as part of participating in some long discussions on the Node Core issue tracker. I'm also maintaining some of the most downloaded modules on npm. So my main concern in this regard is about the ecosystem impact of what we are adding and the interoperability and the fact that things should be able to run also in the browser if needed. That's me. Oh, I've been using Node for a very long time. So, but I'm somehow new to modules, so I'm more or less listening what you guys are saying.
Cool. So we made it through all the participants. Oh, no, we have Jordan. You're just joined, but we're going over the stakeholders. So what you're interested in seeing happen in the future and kind of the reasoning why you're here. If you could just introduce yourself.
So I'm Jordan Harband. I'm on TC39. I maintain NVM, and I've been in and out of the Node ecosystem and the core discussions for a while. I think I would characterize my major priorities as the main one being smooth migration paths for everyone, which means both users who want to evolve to standard modules from whatever they're using, but also users who don't want to be left behind as parts of the ecosystem evolve. So in the same way as when CJS showed up, there were lots of migration paths, whether you were using modules or not. I want to make sure that there are lots of migration paths in both directions, whether you're using standard modules or not. And then I guess the second one is kind of spec compliance and interoperability. If they're making sure that Node and browsers and the specifications all align as closely as possible, just to kind of ensure a consistent ecosystem. That's it.
Cool. So we made it through all the participants currently here. We also have stakeholders who may not be here, and I think we should at least discuss the different standards bodies involved, so that we can at least get ready for some discussions where we're going to be discussing, who are we dealing with when we're talking about the web, and who are we dealing with when we're talking about JavaScript, the language, and that kind of stuff. If anybody wants to speak up about kind of TC39 and what we should be looking at when we want to take proposals to them, I can't raise my hand since I'm co-hosting, so otherwise
I can co-host you for right now, and I'll just re-co-host before I have to drop, so I'll remain the only host. But I would like to request that if we're going to talk about the TC39 stuff specifically there, especially since we only have 15 minutes left till Gus's talk, that it may make more sense to just wait until my session on the TC39 to dig into that.
Well, I just want to talk about what these bodies are, not what they're doing.
Okay, no problem.
Okay?
Cool.
So TC39 is the JavaScript language standards body. Well, they're the committee controlling the standard of ECMA 262, which is what we call JavaScript. And so whenever we're talking about proposals or things going through JavaScript, we're talking about it going through TC39's process. And so what does that mean? TC39 is in control of the grammar of the language, the syntax, and kind of the built-in APIs that aren't provided by web browsers. They're not provided by Node. They're not provided by your Fitbit, whatever. So they're who we need to talk to if we need to change something about the syntax for modules, or if we need to change something about how modules are linked together, generally. On the other side of things, there is the web platform standards. I've got some interaction with them, but Justin, if I could call you out just to talk about what they are in control of, would that be okay? Okay, well, the web standards bodies that we're going to generally be interacting with is the WhatWG and the IETF or IESG. The WhatWG are the people in control of browser standards. So they're in charge of things like creating the fetch API, creating type equals module on the script tag. And they control how browsers load everything. So if we want to discuss interoperability with how browsers load, we just need to know how they load, and we would go to WhatWG standards for how they actually work. On the other side, I mentioned IETF. They're the Internet Engineering Task Force. They kind of control the infrastructure of the internet itself. So when you're talking about how things propagate through TCP/IP or things of that nature, you go through them. But in particular, they control both the JavaScript MIME type, and they also have some control over things like HTTP2 and things that Node may eventually support for loading modules, but doesn't. So if we need to go and talk to them about kind of transporting things over the wire, they're another person involved. They don't control the APIs as much as the infrastructure itself. So yeah, I think we got 10 minutes for open discussion before we start anything else. So if anybody has topics.
I'll take just a second, since we have a few more people on the call than earlier. I had posted a link. I'm going to grab it again. Here it is. Let me just paste it for everyone. This is a Google Doc that has potential agenda items for the TC39 discussion. If there's anything on there that doesn't seem correct or anything that's missing that you'd like to add, please add it. We may not have time to get to everything on that doc, but it's just we'll be using to guide the discussion during that session.
Well, we haven't really discussed using the TC39 agenda thing. We can discuss that since we've got 10 minutes or so. I can put the link in chat again.
Yeah, and could you throw the agenda thing on the screen? I think since we have almost quorum of our group here, it could be a good, this could be a good use of time of just discussing it in case we want to use it in a future meeting.
Okay, so I'm putting a link in the Zoom chat and we've got stuff going on. Basically, this is TC39's discussion queue. It's used to kind of control the conversation when there's different priorities to how we need to respond to things in meetings. So Zoom has the ability to raise your hand. This lets us organize it at a little bit finer granularity. In particular, it lets you say that you're asking questions about the topic, or if you're responding to a current discussion, creating a new discussion on whatever's on the agenda, or point of order. So I don't know if we want to use this, but I think it's worth giving it a try versus just raising our hands. Because if people have clarifying questions, instead of going and interrupting the talk, some people may say, we're about to get to it, and you can kind of talk about it quicker. You can also kind of control the discussion afterward a little bit better so that people aren't kind of interleaving the discussion, because if you raise your hand and you go first in, first to talk, you can get multiple discussions going on, which is a little bit chaotic. So we saw this in a previous modules meeting where we were going around and asking people with raised hands, are you discussing the current topic or are you bringing up a new one? So yeah, so using this, should probably do this. And if people want to like click new topic or clarifying question, point of order, we'll see how it is. So yeah, could just be like tool for, and you'll be put into a queue. I don't know. And things like that. And so there's a system of organization here. And so people have feelings on using this queue or don't care.
Looks good.
It seems like a good idea if it works well.
The only thing that doesn't work well is the time remaining, which